What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, we got some more unfortunate news for undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, and currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered the number one pound-for-pound boxer in the world, Terrence Bud Crawford, who he and his promoter, legendary promoter, top-ranked CEO, Bob Arum, stated that Manny Pacquiao had indeed agreed to face Terrence Crawford, and November 14th was supposed to mark the date, but due to the fact that the Board of Health stepped in and they could not guarantee that they would allow fans in attendance, so the gates, the live gates, the closed circuits, the fans' revenue wasn't going to play a part. They wouldn't be able to pay the necessary purses for such a high-profile fight. They couldn't guarantee it, so they had to pull away and step away from it. That's thus the reason you saw Terrence Crawford face former IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Special K, Kell Brook. With that said, they were looking to face Manny Pacquiao. Terrence Crawford said that that's the fight he truly, truly wants, because he's been looking to get that fight since 2015, but he stated that he wasn't able to secure the fight. So we're going on 6 years since Terrence, because 2021 is when Manny Pacquiao decides to mark the date to come back to the ring. With that said, after we saw undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol the Truth Spence Jr. take on former two-division world champion, former junior welterweight, unified world champion, and former WBC welterweight world champion, Danny Swift Garcia, this past Saturday night, in which Errol Spence put on a dominating performance, dazzling performance, and winning a unanimous decision victory. And he actually was beating up on Danny Garcia more than we've ever seen, okay? So with that said, Manny Pacquiao, 8-division world champion, legendary, iconic superstar boxer, who is currently the WBA welterweight world champion, he and his team informed the world that they were paying a close attention, and had a close eye on Errol Spence Danny Garcia fight, and they were interested in facing the winner of that fight. With that said, after the fight, Manny Pacquiao congratulated Errol Spence on his victory, said, "Welcome back." Now, Manny Pacquiao's team has informed Errol Spence, contact Errol Spence's team, according to reports, and let the world know that they want to fight Errol Spence in 2021. Manny Pacquiao says that, yes, even at advanced ages, he's 42, but he's turned back the hands of time. We saw him dominate Adrian Broner. Well, not dominate Adrian Broner, but we saw him beat Adrian Broner. Then we saw him beat undefeated former unified WBC, WBA welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman. Okay? Adrian Broner, 4-division world champion, superstar boxer. Okay? And Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman to many people's surprise, right? He dropped Keith Thurman in the fight. He hurt him badly in the 10th round. He looked like him old self, right? And so Manny Pacquiao says that he wants to test himself against Errol Spence in 2021. That's what he's looking to do. That's a fight. He wants the unification bout, a massive fight with Errol Spence. He was watching Errol Spence, and he feels obviously there's something he can exploit in that fight. He feels like he could be victorious in that fight. It's a massive fight. He's going to return to the ring in 2021. So now he's saying that the Errol Spence fight is the fight that he wants to take. Wow. So where does this leave Terrence Crawford? Terrence Crawford has a WBO mandatory #1 challenger in former 2-time welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Showtime Sean Porter, right there on the table. We know he don't mind honoring his mandatory challenge. As he told the world, that's why he was fighting Igor Kavalauskas prior to this Kell Brook fight, because that was his mandatory challenger. Well, guess what? Sean Porter is a more viable option than Igor Kavalauskas, and he's a mandatory challenger as well. So that looks like the direction we could see Terrence Crawford have to go in to get a big fight. Or he could face, and they could succumb and, negotiate with former unified champion Keith one-time Thurman, right? He says he wants to fight. So Keith Thurman said that, the money they was offering, he never made $2 million since PBC, Premier Boxing Champions, and he got with Al Heyman and founder of the PBC and advisor. He hasn't made $2 million since it started years ago. So he says that obviously he started off with $10 million. they can negotiate that down, I'm sure. They gave Mir Khan $7 million. I'm sure they could find a common medium for Keith Thurman fight. But with that said, Manny Pacquiao, this is a huge step for Errol Spence and his legacy. And this just is added cherries on the top for Manny Pacquiao. His legacy is already cemented in place. A loss doesn't affect it. A win can bolster it slightly, where he's placed in history. But a win over Errol Spence would, definitely, move him up a notch on some people's radar as some people legacy top, 10 or whatever they have you. Manny Pacquiao is definitely in the top 10 all-time greatest fighters in the history of the sport of boxing. And if he's able to beat Adrian Broner, Keith Thurman, and then Errol Spence Jr., in this whole different era, that speaks volumes for his legacy and his career. So now he stated that he definitely wants this fight with Errol Spence in 2021. What this means for Errol Spence is huge because he's already done 3 straight pay-per-views. Mikey Garcia, 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, did 350,000 pay-per-view buys. Then he fought Sean Porter. That did 325,000 pay-per-view buys. Now he's fought Danny Garcia this past Saturday, December 5th. I'm sure that's going to do upwards of 300,000 pay-per-view buys. And he could secure a showdown, as he stated that he had a long year and a half, obviously, after unifying the titles against Sean Porter in September 28th of 2019. Just 12 days later, he suffered that horrific car accident October 10th. And he was rehabbing, getting himself back in a physical shape to be able to think about competing in the sport of boxing. Then he went right from that right into training camp. So he said he wanted to give his body a rest, but he's going to hire a nutritionist. He's going to he's going to reconnect with his strength and condition coach, Blu-ray. And he's looking to be dominant moving forward, right? He says that he wants to make a statement moving forward. And then eventually he wants to fight a 4-division world champion Mexican superstar boxer Saul Canelo Alvarez at some point in time. That's going to have to be at a catchweight, I'm sure. Canelo Alvarez is fighting next Saturday at 168. So Errol Spence fight at 47. So that's 21-pound difference right now. So they'll have to find a common ground to come to. But with that said, Errol Spence said he was going to give it a rest and he wanted to be back in the summertime. Well, Manny Pacquiao is being rumored to face Mikey Garcia in the early part of 2021, which I'm expecting Manny Pacquiao to be victorious in that fight. And then I can see Manny Pacquiao, that's getting his feet wet, knocking the rust off. This is no slight towards Mikey Garcia, but Manny Pacquiao is going to be a heavy favorite in that fight. He can knock the rust off. He could, get his feet wet once again. Last time we saw Manny Pacquiao was July of 2019. He didn't fight, in the late half of 2019, and obviously he didn't fight in 2020. So he won't be fighting until 2021. So that'll be a long layoff, especially for a guy that's over 40 years of age. He stays in shape, but he definitely gonna have to get his feet wet and knock the rust off before stepping in the ring with Errol Spence. So this speaks volumes, right? What this means for both guys, for Errol Spence, it makes him a victory over Manny Pacquiao makes him the clear face of the sport of boxing at that point in time. He is going to be the pay-per-view star, right? Because there's nobody else outside of the heavyweights. Obviously, I'm not including the heavyweights because as the heavyweights go, so does the sport of boxing. They carry the sport. Okay, we know that Deontay Wilder does a pay-per-view, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, all eyes will be on them because the heavyweights carry the sport of boxing on their shoulders. That's why the pound-for-pound list was created for guys in lower weight classes to, highlight them and give them, their roses while they can smell them, right? Because if you go on to the heavyweights, obviously there's nobody in the sport of boxing that could beat a heavyweight outside of a heavyweight, right? Maybe a cruiserweight that goes up to heavyweight, but that's still a slim chance. So they clearly carry the sport of boxing. So with that said, Errol Spence, this would make him the face of the sport of boxing, hands down, right? Because Canelo Alvarez currently doesn't even fight on pay-per-view. He fights on the app and DAZN. His next fight against Callum Smith next Saturday will be on DAZN. So with that said, he's not doing pay-per-views. And Errol Spence then at this point in time, a fight with Manny Pacquiao for unification. This would make him a unified champion for a second time because now he has the WBC and the IBF on the line against Pacquiao's WBA. belt on the line. He beats Manny Pacquiao, a legend in the sport of boxing. That pay-per-view, and another thing is, right, it's no coincidence that Manny Pacquiao opened up at AT&T Stadium, Dallas Cowboy Stadium in Arlington, Texas, for the sport of boxing, okay? He started the sport of boxing in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium at that arena. Obviously, that's the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, so football was played there. But for boxing, he was the first boxing attraction there. So now this is obviously Errol Spence's backyard. He's fought there twice now. He's fought Danny Garcia there, and he has fought Mikey Garcia there. So he's a huge attraction, obviously, at AT&T Stadium. Manny Pacquiao is a huge attraction anywhere he goes, but definitely at AT&T Stadium. We know they could pack on fans in the arena. It holds over 100,000 fans. The selling point is there. The storyline is there. It would be huge as far as pay-per-view. I'm expecting this pay-per-view to do upwards of 500 to 700,000 pay-per-view buys, possibly 1 million pay-per-view buys, depending upon the status and how everything unfolds as far as the pandemic and social distancing and things of that nature. People are going to be overly excited. It has huge qualms on the ranking system for Errol Spence. He would then have an opportunity, like I said, to be unified twice over, grab a belt and beat a legend and do a huge pay-per-view. This would be his biggest pay-per-view yet. And then he has the opportunity to go into an undisputed showdown with Terrence Crawford, which is currently the biggest fight in the sport of boxing right now. So imagine if he's to beat Manny Pacquiao. He's the WBC, WBA, IBF world champion and going into an undisputed match with Terrence Crawford. And Terrence Crawford was to beat Showtime's Sean Porter. This speaks volumes. It's massive, right? So, like I said, now Terrence Crawford is going to have to answer some questions as well as Bob Arum, because what happened with the fact that they stated that Terrence Crawford was going to fight Manny Pacquiao in 2021. Terrence Crawford went as far as to say he wasn't even too worried about fighting Errol Spence because the number one priority was Manny Pacquiao. Now Manny Pacquiao's number one priority seems to be Errol Spence Jr. So where does that leave Terrence Crawford? Because there's a lot of fights that he didn't even want to negotiate with. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.